Добрий день і вітаю.
Hello, and welcome. I'm Olga Tamanova. Welcome to Media Center, Ukrinform. 10 years of war, 754th day after the full-fledged invasion of the Russian aggressors to our land. And I would like to thank all of the media, people who keep sharing with the world the truth about this world and our heroic defense. So today we're going to be discussing a very important topic indeed. We will hear to the presentation on the humanitarian demining. It's an open secret that this topic is very painful and very relevant to all of us. According to the experts, it will take dozens of years, most likely, for us to overcome this problem. It goes without saying we understand how it impacts the security and economic situation. So today we're going to be discussing this. Let me introduce our speakers for today. Meri Akopyan, the head of the National Association on Humanitarian Demining. Also, we are waiting for Ihor Bezkaravainyi to join us from the Ministry of Economy, Serhii from the National Agency on Emergency, Serhii Berehulya, the Center for Ecological Security of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. Also on Zoom, we have the representative of the Japanese embassy and Ms. Taira, the Ukrainian volunteer. So, Meri, the floor goes to you first. We're going to be discussing about the association. So, what's the goal? What are the goals of this association, please? Good afternoon, colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank all of the people present here today, journalists, colleagues, volunteers, representatives of the governments and international community involved in humanitarian demining. For the last 2 years, the whole society are getting deeper into this topic, unfortunately, and we recognize and acknowledge that for the couple of dozen of years from now, we're going to be living and facing with this challenge, and we need to figure out what should be the format to overcome that challenge. And we have established the task force and jointly decided that the previous efforts of communicating this topic and putting it to the agenda on our own separately would be impossible. That's why we established the Ukrainian National Association on Humanitarian Demining, and that's the association what will be the hub, the platform to involve all of the stakeholders, all those who could add value and their efforts and energy and professionalism to structure, organize this process the fastest, the most professional way, and inclusively. What I mean is we need to involve the vendors, the operators accredited in Ukraine, people from various authorities, as well as legislative initiatives, etc. That is to say, the National Association on Humanitarian Demining is a non-government structure that unites organizations involved in this topic. The key mission of the association, I would kindly ask our technical team to share the presentation. It's in English, so that our international partners will be able to also follow us. So the key mission of our association is promoting and fostering at the highest professional level to clear mine-contaminated land, to unite all of the stakeholders in this area. The main areas of our performance of our association is uniting, first of all, the efforts and communicating with the governments, institutions and authorities on humanitarian demining topic, coming up with the recommendations how to streamline and update legislation and regulations, helping to improve the quality of professional training for deminers, discussing and proposing what changes need to be made, how to introduce new classificator standards, exploitation and safety standards, raising the level of awareness of general population and the experts themselves, what sort of services would be offered, cooperation with the partners, charity organizations, on various issues, representing the interests of the association members at the international level, providing methodological support to the association members, sharing the guidelines with them to overcome the challenges that they might have. That is to say, the association is not an organization, a public organization or a private organization. No, this is the platform for everyone. And here's the call for everyone to join us. Please bring your ideas, your challenges, your complex and difficult problems, because we're all facing them in carrying out whatever issues that are related to humanitarian demining. Structurally, the association is comprised of a small team of operational officers, organizational, logistical issues, moderating and coordinating the work of experts, industry teams, and perform 24/7 operational work. Also, the association has the head, deputies, all present here today. Let me introduce Alexei Bondarenko, who is an expert on demining and safety, associate professor, and right now he's writing his PhD thesis on demining activities. So for him, this is also an academic effort. Alexander Demchuk is another deputy head of the association, a well-known safety expert. So these are the people who will be uniting everyone under one roof, those who are willing to work together. Also, the association has the board. Volodymyr Petrenko is the chair of that board, a well-known expert as well on both demining and safety issues. And then, structurally, the activities of our association will include establishing expert teams involving all of you, all of the willing stakeholders, so that we will together come up with some findings and proposals how to deal with what the industry is concerned with. Also communicate with the authorities, parliament, all the organizations who might cause needed changes in the legislation or the adaptation and reformatting of guidelines and procedures. Separately, I would like to stress out what are the immediate priorities for us right now, and something that we started doing already in the last couple of weeks. So, such problem, for instance, as drafting the new humanitarian demining superb professional standards. And it's quite a labor-intensive work. We've never done it before, because we didn't have that need. Now there's an urgent need, and we involved the state agency on labor to write this standard, to draft it, involving academia, professors from the universities and training centers who would be then training experts, sappers, on humanitarian demining. Then other tasks for us would be the methodology guidelines for training those sappers, also drafting changes and amendments to the law of Ukraine on anti-mine activities, despite the fact that all those problems are being scaling up, ensuring that the industry, the private operators would work together with the government authorities in implementing the demining strategy, coordination with international organizations, volunteer organizations, embassies, funds to receive funding and to receive humanitarian assistance in promoting this topic. And also cooperation with academia and training centers, carrying out surveys and research, coming up with new methodologies and guidelines. We have signed, by the way, the Memorandum of Understanding with the Polytechnics University, which is the member of our association, by the way. And we're going to be supporting their design of new humanitarian designing guidelines and technologies. Another important component is the direct communication with the end users, farmers, private companies, territorial communities, land plot owners, those people who have a huge challenge to face. But unfortunately, we are not yet enjoying strong feedback from them, so we are all waiting for the beginning of the implementation of the government program. This is the funding program to help farmers and other landowners to start dealing with the challenge of demining. So there's a huge number of people who request this assistance, and we will help to communicate with them. As was mentioned before, another important component of what we're doing is communicating, involving mass media, subject matter experts who would help us to convey to everyone why this is the priority for Ukraine, what are the challenges and threats, what ongoing initiatives are out there. And let's hope that the association will be just complementing all of the efforts of the government and other volunteer institutions that are currently involved in this sphere. More than 20 organizations have joined the association as full-fledged members, so this is only the beginning. Please join us. Private operators, training and educational institutions, government authorities among them. And like I said, the association is an open hub for anyone who is willing to share their expertise and assistance and to help out with arranging this process in the speediest and most efficient manner. To stay on the same page, as they say in English. And once again, I'm grateful that the representatives of the Ministry of Defense are here today, as well as the representatives of the emergency agency, people who for the last 2 years, from the day one of the full-fledged invasion, are fighting this problem on the daily basis. Well, they started doing it, of course, back in 2014 at a smaller scale, but once again, I would like to use this opportunity to thank the volunteers, and Taira represents this community. I'm also grateful to the great number of international partners of ours, and one of those partners for us today is the government and the Embassy of Japan, who are helping us in this effort. And I'm grateful to Mr. Ihor, who just joined us, because the Ministry of Economy is also very important, and it plays the role of the moderator and the leader in this area. And Once again, let me reiterate that we see that our association just complements the efforts of the Ministry of Economy and other government institutions. We just help them. And we will produce expertise to them. We will formulate the needs of from the input of professional community and communicate with the government, with the authorities, telling them, suggesting to them what are top priorities and how to build the proper strategy for humanitarian demining in Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you, Igor, for joining us. Let me ask you straight away. We recognize that humanitarian demining is the problem that we cannot resolve without available funding. So, of course, somebody needs to coordinate this effort, and as far as I understand, it's the Ministry of Economy, your ministry, that will be in charge of this. So, what can you tell us about this? How would you find finances that are needed, not only for the work of the association, of course, but for the demining process at large? Well, too many complicated questions in one, but let me start tackling them one by one, as well as probably sharing some of the comments that might respond to the unanswered questions. Well, first of all, let me say sorry for being late. Well, happens. So what's the role of the Ministry of Economy being the leads of this process? What's important is to correctly acknowledge and understand what would be the role of various stakeholders in this whole process. So the role of the Ministry of Economy is not to be a monopoly and substitute this whole system. No, the demining system has been introduced long time ago. There is a certain continuity here already, some heritage. And Mr. Ruslan here is the head of the Secretariat of the National Authority on Humanitarian Demining. So we in the Ministry of Economy don't believe that we will substitute the existing national system of demining. No. The way we see our role is that of a coordinator. Our job is to bring everyone to the same table so that we'll speak in the same language, that we will set the same goals, and together achieve them. That is to say, the Ministry of Economy is an oil, a lubricant in a large mechanism. The Ministry of Economy is not responsible for the field work. We cannot tell SAPERs or the emergency people or others how they do their field job, of course. We cannot tell the demining operators who are working in the field how they should do their work. No, our job is to evaluate and assess what's happening, adapt to the challenges, and suggest solutions that could speed up the process of demining in Ukraine. And tackling the question you raised about the funding, one of the cases that was suggested by the Ministry of Economy is the program of funding or covering the costs for demining of agricultural farmlands. And in this case, we unite a couple of components, and let me try and explain it in a straightforward and easy to understand, user-friendly manner. So demining of farming lands, right? And here the government of Ukraine is very much interested in this. Why? Well, clearing the territory, of course, that's first and foremost. But secondly, launching the market of demining, because it's all about economy, not demining. Well, just imagine how many people will be involved, equipments, vehicles. So if we do it right, some of that would be manufactured by Ukrainian vendors, giving job opportunities. Another component of why the government should be interested in demining farmlands, first of all, is that Ukraine is a global agricultural player. We all know that Ukraine is one of the main suppliers, in particular of grain, to the countries of global south. So on the crossroads of all those different interests, we need to learn how to react to the need to, first of all, clear the farming territories, but on the other hand, follow all the other international standards. Because if you follow those standards, then critical infrastructure is top priority, then safety of the residents who live at those mine territories, and the third priority would be the economic activity of recovery, rejuvenation of those regions and communities. And using similar model, so demining farming lands becomes this third economic priority. But again, if we demine all the critical infrastructure first, then demine all the residential sites, and only then move to the third priority of economic recovery, well, sorry, but residents of the occupied territories would not be employed at that time, because mostly they're doing farming, and if the land is mined, there would be no farming done. And in this regard, the role of the Ministry of Economy is to kickstart and administer this program and to launch the work of the Humanitarian Demining of Farming Land program. This year, 3 billion hryvnias were invested from the national budget. This was approved at the Cabinet Ministers meeting. Now we are designing a methodology of cost estimates, how to estimate costs for, at a particular land plot. For us, a unit would be 100 or 120 or 200 hectares, we'll see, depending on what would be the unit size. After cost estimates are done, this lot would be offered using Prozora app, and then the operators of the mining activities would be sharing their expectations, suggesting their costs, and for us, the best bids, of course, hopefully would offer the lowest cost, but still we need to ensure highest quality. So after all the works are being done, 80% of all those costs would be compensated from the state budget, as the 80% of the amounts from the contract. Mr. Igor, did the ministry already make the preliminary assessment of what is the scope, the size of that market? Well, it's very difficult to evaluate the size of something that does not exist. But there are preconditions for Ukraine to establish this marketplace. Namely, well, we're sitting here today with you, right? We are all here, and the Ukrainian National Association of Humanitarian Demining. Is it the correct term? Yeah, thank you for bringing us together. So this is the initiative that comes from business. It comes from the civic society. And this is one of the preconditions to shape the markets in such a way that would reflect on this interests of civic society. Right now we have 32 operators, if I'm not mistaken, and 19 of them are Ukrainian companies, limited liability organizations. So that means that Ukrainian businesses are ready to invest into this area and develop the market. Now, Mr. Ruslan, I understand that your agency has lots of challenges in this regard right now. So the existence of this platform, will it help to resolve your challenges? Well, thank you for this question, but let me start by adding to what Mr. Igor said already. We are working together with the Ministry of Economy and other top executive ministries and agencies involved in the mining effort. So we together drafted the national strategy already. So the draft is ready. It's being approved at the session of the National Board on Humanitarian Demining. Now it's the National Council for Security and Defense that reviews it. Then the President will approve it, and then we'll start implementing it. So what I would like to say is this. The structure and the system are already in place. They exist already. Yeah, it's probably not perfect. And together with our colleagues, we are constantly and permanently upgrading and updating and improving this system, drafting laws and regulations, conducting meetings of working groups and task forces. As you all well know, the biggest value for us right now is our human lives. And unfortunately, the statistics are very sad and gruesome. From the beginning of the full-fledged invasion, 647 incidents of explosives among civilian population. 950 people suffered, 298 people died of them, and 661 wounded or crippled. So our main task is to stop civilians' suffering. And it will happen only when each community, each mine territory would be cleared from all those unfortunate reminders of this Russian aggression. Mr. Igor, do you have anything to add? Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Serhii Demchuk from the State Agency on Emergencies. And yeah, we are instrumentally involved in demining efforts, while currently the focus of our efforts is to clear the deoccupied territories, the critical infrastructure, allowing the residents of those communities to operate their farming lands. So we were doing the same thing last year, and last year we delivered on all the tasks that were set for us, and hopefully we'll do the same this year. One of the areas that is fast developing is the use of special demining equipment that allows us to perform the tasks at the most dangerous sites, namely farming lands, where the Russian Federation sets whole minefields, and we hopefully would save lives of our sappers, because when our operators do it manually, it's very dangerous. I mean, damaged car could always be repaired, unlike people. Also, this is something that we would continue doing. Also, we will need to increase our efforts in raising the awareness of our residents, because the civilians should know that there's a threat. Now, Mr. Nozomu, the question will be to you. You are here with us today. Does it tell us that Japan, our huge international partner, will be involved in this process? So hopefully yes, but what format?
Thank you very much. And first of all, I would like to state my delight, and I am very much honored to participate in today's panel organized by Ukraine Media Center, as well as an kind invitation from the Ukraine National Humanitarian Demining Association, which brings together a wide range of stakeholders from government, private sector, and international partners related to demining. Let me first extend my sincerest respect and gratitude to all the dedicated deminers and sappers who are now clearing Ukrainian land contaminated by mines and other explosive as a result of Russia's illegal, unjustifiable, and unprovoked aggression. Taking this opportunity, I would like to condemn in the strongest possible terms the attack of Odessa on March 15th, which caused casualties of civilians and rescuers. I would like to offer my sincere condolences to those families of the victims. Humanitarian demining is one of the biggest challenge that Ukraine is now facing in short, mid, and long term. Envisioning the victory of Ukraine in near future, in short term, demining is a precondition for people to return to normal life. In midterm, demining is essential to implement and accelerate safe recovery efforts. And in long term, demining is directly linked to building back better and stronger the society and economy of Ukraine. Clearing contaminated land is a tough task in terms of the time span required, as was already discussed, and geological and spatial area to work on, which was already elaborated by my previous speakers. Resolving this complicated task needs strong and sustained political leadership, good planning ability, effective implementation capacity, all underlined by persistence and dedication, as well as unity, I think, of all stakeholders that was already mentioned by Meri before. The vision that First Deputy Prime Minister Petrenko announced at the Ukraine Recovery Conference in London last June, which is to release and return 80% of potentially contaminated land to productive use over the next 10 years, is ambitious but achievable if best mix of leadership, unity, planning, and implementation is materialized. Another aspect of importance is to unite various domestic stakeholders. For this, I commend the initiative of Meri for establishing this platform, which enables and unites government agencies, private sectors, NGOs to work together so that coherent and effective effort to clear contaminated land will be possible. I will go back to your question. But before that, let me put a little bit of a context on this. Japan, once a war-torn country 80 years ago, by World War II, we fought the Americans, and even now still working to clear UXOs from that war, knows firsthand that clearing explosive remnants of war requires patience and determination. Also, our partnership forged over 25 years with Cambodian Mine Action Center has enabled us to understand what it requires to build capacity in humanitarian mine action. Japan is ready to utilize such network and experience, as well as Japanese technology, to contribute to transforming Ukrainian contaminated land into an environment where people can return and live safely as long as it takes. Assistance in humanitarian demining is one of the top priorities of the government of Japan. Japan is now implementing multiple projects which represent three approaches that I would like to highlight here. The first one, provide equipment, machinery, and vehicles. Second, provide capacity building training programs to the State Emergency Service of Ukraine, SESU. And third, promote localization of various equipment, machinery, and vehicles, which was also mentioned by the Deputy Minister Bezkaravainyi about the creation of a market related to humanitarian demining. Through JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, we have completed the transfer of 30 Isuzu trucks with manipulators, which were assembled in a local factory in Cherkasy, contributing to the local economy and jobs. Apart from this, we have provided dozens of station wagons and pickup trucks, as well as demining mine detecting devices. Also, since our SESU colleague here mentioned about the demining machines, 22 heavy demining machines are now being manufactured in Japan, which the first batch of the heavy demining machines will be arriving in Ukraine in June this year, so several months later. Upon transfer, partnership with local enterprise will be pursued to properly maintain them for long-term use. Such partnership will build the technical foundation in Ukraine, which can be utilized to undertake local production in the future. I would like to conclude my remarks by reiterating Japan's commitment to capacitating the whole Ukrainian demining sector. Japan will always stand side by side with Ukraine as long as it takes until, and this is the favorite phrase of my ambassador, until the last mine in Ukraine is cleared. And Yes, and thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Дякую, пане Нозому, дякую.
Thank you, Mr. Nozomu, for this support. So, Julia, have you joined this initiative? No, I haven't joined this initiative just yet, but I'm here to share my experience. Back in 2014, since then, I could not even tell you the exact number of civilians who suffered or were killed because of the mines. 100 plus that I've seen with my own eyes. So in the time of war, mines and explosives, they cause most of the injuries. Among the military, about 70%. As to civilians, at the almost 100% of casualties at the liberated territories are caused by those mines. Okay, let me share a story with you. I don't remember when was that, 2016 or 17, close to Popasna. I was picking up a combine driver from the field who was collecting harvest and was blown up. A civilian who, while doing farming works, an anti-tank mine blew up the combine, and actually it was destroyed. It could not be repaired, while the driver received serious wounds. And the worst thing is that he was also shell-shocked. So that's just one example. We managed to stabilize him, bring him to the military hospital on time, because it's the military doctors who deal with such wounds the best. Why? Because they have, unfortunately, a tremendous experience. The experience of our military doctors is just invaluable. And I would like to draw attention also to the fact that we need to introduce the medical training courses for civilians, for first aid training courses, so that civilians would be helping other civilians when and if there is need for that. Also, separately, we need to train civilian doctors in civilian hospitals on how to cure mine-caused wounds and shell-shock traumas. All those efforts should be supported with blood transfusion devices, because in the cases we're discussing, it's the loss of blood that most likely is the cause of death. Especially, it's true for anti-personnel mines. My whole phone is full of photos and videos of how it looks like and how difficult it is even to watch this. And I'm a practitioner, I'm just telling you, it's a nightmare. And that's why we need to ensure that all the needed medical drugs, blood transfusion devices are being provided on time, as well as, like I said, the training for the medical experts, both military and civilian. Yeah, I know that you have great experts already, but training is still important for everyone. Another thing I would like to draw attention to is that the kids, the children in the villages, in the deoccupied territories, they are hunting for some memorabilia of war. Like empty cases, but not only. And we need to ensure safety of our kids. Yeah, they want to pick up shiny objects from the ground, but we need to save them. Almost in all of the villages along the front lines, I see enough publications and other leaflets handed out, but still this should be a non-stop effort to talk to civilians and tell them about this. Other thing, tractor or combine drivers, the farmers who suffered from mines or explosives, and they have not been compensated by their employers, the landowners, and this legal aspect should be clarified. Again, if we're talking only about humanitarian demining, thank you. And let me add to this. Julia, thank you for bringing up this very important topic, namely the support of victims, especially in the context of casualties among the farmers. And when Ruslan said 600 plus wounded, so more than a half of them are either males or children. So women are more responsible. So we need to focus on male farmers and rangers from the forestry industry who could also suffer from the mines in the forests, the forestry rangers.
Приїхали там плугами.
So the farming equipment cultivates the farming land, and after you did this, no explosion done, and you might think, well, you can seed and plant. No, because the mines might blow up during harvest. You can already use your combine twice on the same lot, and on the third time it will blow up. So until the sappers tell you that it's safe, it's better not to go there on your own. And the final comment that was made by Julie about the responsibility of the employers not to use their farmers to cultivate the land that they own until they are told by the sappers that it's safe. So, yeah, we'll check what would be the administrative, even criminal liability for such employers for jeopardizing life and health of the farmers. Well, as for compensation and reimbursement of those who suffered, the victims, that's an important topic, of course. But insurance is another important. Life insurance becomes another important topic, and it's still a gap. Nothing has been done on this yet, so life insurance is something that has to be streamlined, creating such rules of the game that the insurers would be also involved in this effort. And what Taira mentioned about farmers not waiting for demining. Well, unfortunately, almost on the daily basis, I learned that a farmer drives the tractor a hectare, and then no explosion, and they believe, oh, it's not being mined, fine. We don't need to demine it. No, it's a great threat, and that people, civilians, don't understand the specificity of clearing of their lands. And like Igor said, yeah, on the third run on that field, the tractor might be blown up. Yeah, let me explain what's happening. The mine gets to the ground with time. So yeah, you can even harvest this year, but next spring, while planting seeds, mines, they migrate. Sometimes I feel that they're alive, that they're even sentient. No, I'm joking, of course, but that's the technical explanation why we cannot rely on fate. Well, Meri, another question to you. There are different types of demining: military, operational, humanitarian. Let's explain to our listeners what's the role of your association in all that. Our association is dealing exclusively with humanitarian demining issues. Of course, we are part and parcel of the overall demining industry. And it's the Ministry of Defense that monitors this whole area. Of course, they are in charge of military demining at the battlefields, and also there is the DSNS, the emergency agency responsible for critical infrastructure, and this is a different type of demining and different set of tasks that are to be performed by the government. And then there's the rest. All those operators and organizations that got accredited for humanitarian demining. And association's mission is to become the platform for those operators, to create conditions that would promote and foster the establishment and development of this market, setting the same rules of the game, properly communicating and involving the government institutions who would be responsible for enforcing those rules of the game. So humanitarian demining is a component of the overall effort, but we unfortunately have so many outstanding unregulated issues in this area, and that's why the shutout of our association is: let's join our efforts. Let's bring all the expertise, all the analytics to one place. And we have gathered lots of analytics since 2014, especially in the last 2 years, and start pushing and resolving the challenges. So, the greatest potential is in private demining, right? Because that could speed up the solving of the issues. Well, I don't know whom you asked, but let me start by answering. Look, it's important to recognize that the situation is very unique in Ukraine right now. We cannot just copycat the experience of other countries, unfortunately, and then implement this experience in Ukraine from A to Z. No, unfortunately, for the last 30 years, Ukraine is coming up with our own unique experience. And that's why when we establish this market, we need to recognize that Ukraine doesn't have enough funds. Even if we take all the supports from all around the world, all the equipment, all the machines, it's still not going to be enough to do it fast, like overnight or even within 1 year. No. It will take long time and complicated processes, and they are very unique in the life experience of Ukraine. And well, it might not sound diplomatic from my side, but I'm convinced that after we demine and clear the territory of Ukraine, the world community will be looking at Ukraine as the leader in this topic, because we will possess the latest experience. And so from this standpoint, we can on the one hand, break down demining into military, operational, humanitarian, but no, there are two parts. Military, to meet the needs of our armed forces, and civilian, which includes humanitarian, operational, and the involvement of the national police, which is nonsense for the international experience, because the military units that come back to the rear from their tour while resting, those military people could be involved in humanitarian demining. We cannot wait for 2, 3, 5 years for the humanitarian deminer trained by international training centers would come there. No. Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Defense, and DSNS, we are all tasked now to clearly identify what we need to start doing now. All of the stakeholders, they have their own findings, their own experience. But procedurally, all those stakeholders are doing demining in their own manner. But the ultimate result of those efforts, safe territory, ready for farming, something that is needed both for recovery and, of course, for the victory. We need to reach the next level of understanding. Civilian needs and the military needs. All of us are responsible only for civilian needs, including various tools and instruments that could be used for that. Thank you. Sorry, let me add to this, to what Igor said. Well, I don't believe it's the correct way to divide it only in military and humanitarian. Well, come on. There's a war in this country. Kherson, Mykolaiv, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, Lugansk region, daily they are under shelling. Do you think that any civilian demining operator operates in the areas close to the front lines? Of course not. So the reality is that these lands will remain dangerous for a long time. And only the military sappers are currently trying to ensure safety of the residents of the communities close to the front lines. Without those efforts, those people won't be able to stay there, get services from local hospitals, drive on the highways safely. So unfortunately, humanitarian demining operators could not handle all those needs. They just cannot handle the scope and the size of the tasks. And that's why I agree with Igor that it's a unique situation. Both the military and the emergency officials are involved in humanitarian demining as well, at the territories that are close to hostilities, to military operations. So, yeah, military sappers are dealing with military demining, but we are also dealing with humanitarian demining, as we should, of course. And I personally have a huge experience in doing that. Well, and I can tell you that in Croatia, 9,000 square kilometers of mine territories. 30 years it took them to demine that territory with huge amount of assistance, credits, loans, whatnot. But we don't have 30 years to wait, or 35 even, like in Croatia. No, we need to bring our people who had to flee from those territories to come back and return to ordinary lives. So we can only hope that your association's platform would help to unite those efforts and bring all the stakeholders and all the main actors together. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Back to you. Any questions? By raise of hands.
Доброго дня.
Hello, I'm Serhii Kovalchuk, the director of Vera Charity Foundation. Back in 2022, February the 25th, I died as a civilian and was reborn as a military person. I have lots of questions to ask to my government, but let me ask the most important thing. As Igor mentioned, if we go traditionally, just learning the experience of other countries, then probably it will take us not even dozens, but hundreds of years to demine. So we need to innovate. We need to use modern technologies. And our foundation, Vera, unites researchers, designers, scientists, and we addressed with requests various embassies, international organizations, grant programs from the Netherlands and Japan, Kusanon in particular, but no response so far. So we need to get support for our innovations, because then we can scan the territory 100 times faster with 100% accuracy. And everybody knows about this. The DSNS knows about this because we wrote to them, Ministry of Defense and others. We wrote to all of them that we're ready. But they said, look for private investors. That was their generic response. No, that's not the right answer. Well, you're talking about this device that could scan the territory remotely, right? Well, it's just one of the devices. We sent you the presentation a year ago, and the last time we talked with you on KSC, yeah, that's why I mentioned this device. No, that's not just the device, it's a technology. Well, give me 30 seconds. So, this is the technology that is being used to search for natural resources, but it was adapted for searching for any explosives, and it's not a hammer detector. Okay, let me respond to this way. Firstly, good news and bad news. Good news first. Together with UNDP, United Nations program, we would start designing the standards to use innovative technologies, because as you well know, there is no terms of reference on that, and UNDP will help us to bring all this to this similar set of technological and technical requirements. Clear terms of reference, what devices or equipment or machinery we want to be produced. So that's good news. And I shared the information about your team, and you have, and let's stay in touch. But the second response, which is probably bad news, is how accurate is your technology? I'm not a technical expert myself, but if so many people that you contacted refuse to fund you, well, is there a problem with the technology then? We have time for one more question, please.
And I've been in this war 10 years. I've looked after hundreds of patients who have suffered injuries through mines. And myself and my team have demined thousands of mines in 10 years. Currently, we have about 500 different demining teams in the Ukraine, up to about 5,000 engineers operating. And we estimate, with the current technologies being employed, that it will take 757 years to demine Ukraine. There is, however, a light in all this, and it's a technology called neutron activation analysis. This allows a hectare of land to be detected of all explosive devices in 30 minutes. The cost of doing this is less than €1,000. It actually is a technology that is for several companies. I have one company here that actually has the technology, and there are a couple others. My question is, why do we not use gamma ray spectrum and via neutron activation in Ukraine to detect explosives in not just mines?
Я розумію, що,
Так,
мабуть, це не досить ваша специфіка, але...
Why we don't use the technology? Because we don't know about the technology. If you can share with us some information and your contact details, we will contact and we'll discuss about the technology.
Дякую.
Я хочу додати, якщо можна, якраз для цього ми і, в принципі, одна з цілей, яку ми переслідуємо.
That's why one of the goals that we created is to collect the situation and all the findings, all the innovations done by whoever, vendors, labs. The association accumulates information about those technologies and innovations, and as a platform then we will share those technologies and innovations with use our platform to share those information about those technologies. And the final question, please. Hello, the Ukrainian Service of Demining. First of all, thank you for establishing this association, Meri. My question is this. In the cost estimate structure, the lion's share, more than a half, is salary. And when you say that the bid winner would be those who set the lowest price, and now we heard this forecast of how many dozens or even hundreds of years we will have to demine using the current technologies. So, will you allow to recalculate the costs? Will there be some ability for you to send your experts on site? For instance, we're demining someplace and then we want to show you that because of the weather conditions or other things, the cost might go higher than we initially agreed as a fair price. Well, once again, two responses. Good news is that we can reduce the price anytime. So reconsidering for the small amount, we can do it easily. But bad news is that, yeah, you're right, we cannot take into consideration everything that might impact the demining effort when it starts. If we do those cost estimates only using the existing approaches and technologies, well, it will take too much time. For 6 months we were talking to different agencies and authorities that contracted demining operators and getting the clear answer. Well, here's the list of works, here are the prices. No, nobody shared this with us. So we come up with our own price list right now, and the minimum list of criteria and requirements for the land plots to formulate the basic cost for demining 1 hectare. Like how many plants are there, the level of contamination, the type of soil, and other conditions that might increase or reduce the costs. And then we need to recognize what would be the role of the operators, because those operators who would be ready to work hopefully would be doing some preliminary research and calculation whether they are ready to handle the demining of particular territory. So their bid should be based on their calculation of conditions now. If you did your research 1 year ago, well, many conditions might have changed. So those operators who want to become bidders at this tender process through Prozora app, they probably need to also invest into some preliminary research of those territories that they will be bidding to demine. Where there is a will, there is a way.
I understand that we're approaching the end, but just wanted to make one comment as an outsider. And I realized that there's a huge interest about how Ukraine will be demining and the contaminated land. Just wanted to say that I've been to training programs for SESU sappers and operators in Cambodia as well as in Poland. And I have to say that your state operators, sappers are the best. They have this professional skills, very high quality. And we talked about innovation. And actually already new methods of demining is already tested on the ground. So that is already happening as I see it. So I from the Japanese point of view, we very much trust where the Ukrainians are trying to accelerate the process. And that's why my government is always wanting to support such efforts. So just wanted to say that you have one of the best deminers doing heroic activities on the ground, and we are there to support that and further accelerate the pace. Because Cambodia, where I have experience, 25 years after the war, and they're almost done demining. I don't think 700 years is needed for Ukraine, because you see all these dedicated professionals working on it. So we're always happy to support such efforts. Thank you very much.
І коротенька ремарка.
And let me also add to this that Ukrainian field experience generated and accumulated tremendous experience. And one of the tasks would be to use those practitioners to become instructors, trainers for new sappers and deminers. So we need to scale up this experience, not just keep it in the hands of one expert who spends too much time in the field. Because our job is to scale up all this experience. But in order to bring them from the field and make instructors out of them, or mentors or coaches, well, we need to send more sappers to the field. Right now we have 3,500 of them. And 3,500 sappers in Ukraine, yeah, huge number. 3,500 experts. It sounds like a lot, but not enough for our needs, unfortunately. So we need to make the best practitioners to become instructors. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for a very interesting and important event. From what we heard today is that there is lots of work ahead of us, from legal to operational enforcement, but the job has been started, and that's yet one step closer to making Ukraine free of mines. So thank you, everyone here, and separately thanks to our armed forces, and glory to Ukraine.